Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and welcome. This is the work group for economic impact. So, Krista, do you mind going through the roll call?
I will go through the roll call.
Oh, thank you, Storian.
I need to practice the names sometimes for the council meeting. Andrew Klein,
I'm here.
Micah Chappelle,
I'm here.
Tony Don. Tony? Chill Anderson. Caroline Trout.
Here.
Corey.
Corey Wilker here.
We saw you. Okay, so we have a quorum.
Perfect. Anyone from the public, would you like to identify yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Terry Beals representing Sound Transit. Good to see everyone.
Thank you, Terry.
This is Kevin Dewell of Northwest Natural.
Thank you, Kevin. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you. Welcome again. So up to number 2, review and approve the agenda. Pretty short agenda. So we've got the reports on the cost benefit analyses, an ecotope report, and then just other business. So I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as shown.
Thank you.
This
And
is
that was
Corey. I
Corey.
second.
Thank you, Corey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And is anyone opposed? And motion passes. So on to the report on the cost benefit analyses.
So I will start here, and I want to share my screen. The reports for the cost benefit analysis. So the reason for this meeting today is introduction. We want to show you what we are doing. We will have Ecotop folks joining us at about 10:30. So they will tell you what they're doing. Currently, we filed the CR 102s, and what you see on your screen is our website, and you can find the CR 102s with our code proposals right here on the website. You can click, and it will show for each code. We are currently in a comment period. The comment period started on January 19th. And it will run until March 11th. We have 3 public hearings scheduled. The first one upcoming will be on February 11th, at 10 o'clock on February 11th. And it won't be a council meeting, it will be a public hearing only. So we'll have a moderator and everybody can provide a testimony. We will be also accepting a testimony in writing. And we will have more details on the website. And I wanted to show you this page because everything we have for 2021 code adoption cycle will be saving right here. The second hearing, so the first hearing will be for the building code and the fire code only. And the second hearing on February 25th, I believe, the second hearing will be for the energy code. And here is I'm making the connection to the work group of economic impact. And did I hear something, or was it a question? Or
No, I think someone just came in and didn't mute immediately.
the connection with the cost benefit analysis. The cost benefit analysis is part of the rulemaking documents. We have it cited in the CR 102, and we say will be provided if requested. We developed preliminary code benefit analysis for the International Fire Code. We developed preliminary code benefit analysis for the building code, non-structural provisions, and we have code benefit analysis for the energy code. The energy code is, I think, will be the one everybody will be looking for. So it's posted on the website. Okay, right here. For the energy code, we signed a contract with Ecotop, and what Ecotop will do, they will take into account the preliminary cost benefit analysis. The preliminary cost benefit analysis is based on the data we received from the proponents. So everybody submitting proposals, they are required to fill out the last page of our form, and they provided us with cost benefit analysis. So we use this data to develop our preliminary cost benefit analysis. For some sections, we provided additional information. For other sections, for other proposals, we kept the data and the information as it is. Okay, so you can go and go over the cost benefit analysis, and you have, during this comment period, and everybody else during this comment period, they can provide comments and testimonies related to the cost benefit analysis. So this is very important. The comment period is not only for the code proposals, it includes the cost benefit analysis. Moving back to Ecotop, what is the contract about? Ecotop has the preliminary cost benefit analysis, and Ecotop will evaluate our comments received during the comment period and related to the cost benefit. We will coordinate with Ecotop. We will send them our comments that are related to the cost. Ecotop will use their own research, and they will develop two documents. They will develop the final cost benefit analysis, but before that, they will develop a draft that will be used by the council members when they discuss the proposals and when they vote on the energy code proposals. For the rest of the codes, we don't have a contract with the third party because the cost benefit analysis was much easier and not that complicated. What is the role of the work group of economic impact? Today, again, it's an introduction, but we want the work group on economic impact to evaluate and look at the work done by Ecotop. It will be in increments. We will expect the work group economic impact to review the cost benefit analysis for all codes, and if there are issues, to work with staff to include these issues into the final cost benefit analysis, or if there are mistakes, we will take care of the mistakes. Also, the work group of economic impact can do their own research. There is not a frame that they need to go in. It's an open process, so the work group of economic impact can use different means to evaluate the cost. It's directly related to the cost benefits of our proposals. So it's not only the energy code, it includes the building code and the fire code. Again, we didn't have big issues with the building code and the fire code, but conversations about the cost benefits started for the energy code started during the technical advisory group meetings. So we wanted to hire this third party and had the work group of economic impact coordinating and supervising the process. So this is all I have as an introduction. Again, we have reports on the agenda, but it's not really a report. It's an introduction to tell you what we have done and what we're planning to do. And again, the folks from Ecotop, they will join us at 10:30, and we have 15 minutes. If I've missed something in this short introduction, I'll be glad to answer your questions. And Krista is also here. She did a great job with putting together, on her side, all proposals for the energy code, including the cost benefit analysis and the proposals and the summary, the rationale of the proposals, everything. It exceeded 1,000 pages. So I wouldn't survive without her, and I will say this each time I meet with you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Stoyan. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Kevin with Northwest Natural. I was curious when the draft and final cost benefit analyses will be published or made available.
The final cost benefit analysis will be published after the code is adopted.
Gotcha.
Which will be most likely in April. So the codes, again, most likely it's I'm citing the schedule, but the council meeting is in April, and then the council staff needs some time to put again the documents together, and Ecotop will need this time to finish the final cost benefit analysis. The draft cost benefit analysis, this will be for the council members when they're evaluating the proposals and they're debating and the code proposals.
I see. So the draft will be available to the council only then?
It was the idea, but I'm open. I'm open on different ideas, and this is why we're here. We can discuss this with the work group of economic impact. We have two council members, council meetings that we can discuss this as well. So the idea was the draft cost benefit analysis for the council members to take into account, and the final document will be the one that will be published.
And I guess follow on that, is there a chance for the public to view any of this in advance to have comment?
Well, I don't know how reliable will be the comment on a working document. If it's a draft, it's a working document. It's not the final product.
Sure.
But again, staff will discuss with the council members and also with Ecotop if we can make some of the drafts available.
Great, thank you.
At this time, I can't promise that.
Sure.
And Kevin, we are looking for comments on the preliminary cost benefit analysis that is currently published on our website.
Oh, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Krista.
We need your comments because we need to, if there is something that is not necessarily wrong, but if there are concerns with some of the proposals, we need your comments during this. I started with this comment period. Again, it started on January 19th. It will end on March 11th. And as Krista said, and I started with this, the cost benefit analysis, the preliminary one is available on the website.
Great, thanks for all the answers. That's great.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this Larry from Andrews Mechanical.
Yep. Go ahead, Larry.
So this report isn't going to be released until after March 11th, their report. So the public doesn't have a chance to comment on their report?
No, I guess we have some communication issues. So I will show you the cost benefit analysis, how it is right now. Here is the preliminary cost benefit analysis. And again, it's posted on our website.
So is that the one that was developed by Ecotep or whatever their name is?
Ecotop hasn't developed anything yet. Ecotop is waiting for your comments.
Okay.
On the preliminary cost benefit analysis.
So this is the one put out by the proponent.
This is the one developed by staff using data from the proponents and a little bit of staff research. This is the one that you need to comment on. This is what we're expecting. It's posted on our website.
And it
It's-
also includes comments provided at the TAG meetings and at council meetings.
Everything that was discussed before, everything is included in this preliminary cost benefit analysis.
Okay. But the idea behind having the ecotope is to have an independent person come in and do a true cost analysis of what the proponent gave.
That's correct.
And so that won't be developed until after the March 11th. And then it'll be all adopted by then. And so it
No, it won't be adopted on March 11th. The adoption meeting is in April.
right, but
in-
you won't have that report from Ecotep before March 11th, so people can comment on it, on their report.
The reason, well, why do you want to comment of their report if they're waiting for your comments to include in the report?
It would seem like to me that there should be a period after their report is published. So a period of time where the general public and contractors like me have time to read the report and then comment on their report too.
We can discuss this and I'll discuss this with the council member, how we can handle that.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
the main reason for hiring a third party was, see, the council is not a proposing entity. The council is adopting entity. We rely on stakeholders, we rely on other state agencies, local jurisdictions. They prepare their proposals and they submit their cost benefit analysis. And the council members, their role is to evaluate that and decide if they want to adopt it or not. You know, there are different provisions. I'm going very quick as a quick summary, but that's the main goal. So now, because the energy code is a little bit more complicated than the other codes, we wanted an independent entity that will evaluate your comments and will evaluate the proponents' cost benefit analysis and will end up with their own report. But they will be evaluating not only the preliminary cost benefit analysis, they will be taking into account the comments that you guys are sending or your testimony. And again, staff will coordinate on a everyday basis with Ecotop, because if we receive comments or testimonies, we will transfer this relevant comments to Ecotop. And again, the folks from Ecotop will be here in 10 minutes, and they will provide a better summary than me, because they will be more specific. But to be honest with you, we didn't discuss releasing the draft of final cost benefit analysis for the public. And again, I need to discuss this with the council members before I start making promises.
Okay. So what's Ecotep's background? Are they an engineering firm that deals with computer programs and goes out and does cost analyzations for jobs? I mean, what's their background?
They've been in this business for many years, and again, they'll be here at 10:30.
Okay.
Hi, Stoyan. I'm actually on now. This is Henry Ecotop.
Oh, hi. Okay. So, Andrew, you're the chair. If you want, you can combine these two agenda items and include Ecotop here, or
did we have any action necessary on the
no, we don't need any action. This
Okay,
is an introduction meeting for the public to see the members of the work group of economic impact and have some idea what this group will be doing.
okay, so yeah, whether we combine or we just move on to the next item seems like the same thing. So yeah, if you're ready to present, you can have the floor.
Henry, do you want to start with it, or you want to wait for the questions?
Seems like a lot has been talked about already, but I guess I
No,
was
not that much. What I don't know when you logged in, but what I said was that you guys will start with the preliminary cost benefit analysis, and you will do your own research, and you will take into account our comments received. And we got stuck with the question whether or not we will release a draft of the cost benefit analysis. I know we were planning the draft and you know your steps to be available for the work group of economic impact, but we never discussed available for the public. So I said that I need to discuss this with the council members first before I promise anything. So that's what you missed.
So a quick summary on our status. Yeah, we've been basically working in tandem to the efforts that Krista and Stoyan have been working for their own cost benefit analysis that was put out a couple of those on Monday, I think. So we have all been working off the same information, primarily the proposals that were submitted, as well as any updates that happened during the proposal process. We know a few of them had a few substantial changes. So starting from all the information that's publicly available on the SBCC website. And as I mentioned, we just got Department of Enterprise Services cost benefit analysis on Monday. So we're kind of reviewing the format that is presented there and kind of their process, and doing what we can to make our final deliverable, see if we can make it, you know, kind of communicate with theirs at all, similar layout or what we need to do. But our primary focuses are first and foremost the energy savings. That's by far our wheelhouse. We've done a lot of extensive work for the state, for Seattle, the region, for power planning, code development, for both residential and commercial. So verifying first potential energy savings for all the different building types. As we know, in commercial, there's 16 to 18 maybe different occupancy types that have different uses of energy. So trying to figure out how we can capture that best across each type. And then start with what the proponents put in their proposal. We have no interest in redesigning the wheel if all the information is already there. We're mainly looking for reputable sources, good process, namely the state's LCCA tool, which has been used for many code cycles. So ideally, we wouldn't have to add anything to any proposal. We're not going to try to redo anything, tweak anything, unless we see a significant gap in either sharing the energy savings, or if costs maybe not fully detailed out or whatnot. Some of the sources we're looking at, studies from national labs, RS means is really valuable, and then anything that the proponents can actually reference in their proposal, we'll start with that. And again, if it's there, it's clear and it's listed, we're just going to use that and trust that they did their homework. But in terms of our progress, we basically filtered all the proposals. I think we have upwards of 19 to review. And we filtered them from most complicated, most impactful down to most straightforward, either from just a specific building type or a specific piece of equipment, or least cost impact, all the way up to ones that kind of touch on the entire commercial sector. I think we all know which ones those are. And so some are taking a significant amount of work more than others. And so we've tackled one of the big ones, and then we've kind of cleared off a couple of the smaller ones. And as I mentioned, now that we've seen Department of Enterprise Services version of the cost benefit, we can kind of get an idea of how we want to share our results. That's been the hardest part so far. So mainly what we want to do is just have a repeatable process for each proposal. Not necessarily challenge every piece of them, but just say that, we went through the same several steps for each one. This is what we saw. This might be our concerns, and this is the results, no matter if it's a really impactful proposal or one of the more straightforward ones. So I would say we're probably about through 10 or so. And now that we're getting close to our reporting format, I think it'll go a little bit quicker. We still have one of the big ones to kind of dig into, so that could chew up a fair bit more time, but we're making our way through it. So that's a high level summary of where we are.
That's great. Thank you, Henry. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. It's Larry Andrews.
Sure.
What
Go ahead, Larry.
way are we using prevailing wage scale on these reports? I mean, because the majority of commercial buildings are using prevailing wage scale to have these buildings constructed.
So what we're trying to do is incremental cost. And so we're mainly looking at materials, added equipment, any credits. We've thought briefly about even looking into, shipping costs. Some of this equipment might only be available, some of it's down south, but even that gets a little bit difficult. So we're mainly focused on what is the cost difference between the equipment that you could have used under the 2018 code versus what would be proposed in 2021. Some of these do have more labor, on-site labor costs. And those are extremely hard really hard to estimate. There's, as someone in the consulting business, there's always the I don't want to do it cost. And then there's the people who figured out how to do it quickly and well. And so chasing that down and trying to pin that on a code measure seems very difficult, because the code is not telling people how to build anything. It's not telling you who works on your site. It doesn't do anything about forcing any of that. It's mainly measures and bringing energy savings. So at least right now, we are looking purely on an equipment cost difference. But we have thought about that. And if you have thoughts about that kind of stuff, that's all really good stuff to get in the public comment period. If you have some quantifiable numbers that you could share, we'll be listening to all those comments and taking in written reports.
So the labor side of this will be more than 50% of the cost of the project. And so you're not looking at number one, the cost of the labor, or even the labor that it takes to do these versus the other projects. So this number that you're coming up with is not a true number. I mean, of what the cost benefit or cost is. So this number is fictitious. This is not an accurate number of what these projects, what the actual cost is going to be to do the project, and what the true savings would be. And then,
so what do you think the time difference is between installing a gas pack and a heat pump rooftop unit? I think that's the exact same, and actually you don't have to route gas lines up to it. Okay. So you just generalize very far.
Okay, you're making it in a very simplistic thing when commercial products aren't that simple. You've got boilers, you've got piping, you've got refrigeration lines, you've got all of that. Just switching a rooftop unit that is just a small part of commercial installations here.
Yeah, and we're looking at everything, every proposal on its own, and every proposal has different impacts. So I'm not going to cast a wide net over every possible iteration of everything for every proposal. There's specific language in each one that requires a review and a thought of what those differences are. So,
but this code,
you're also generalizing as well.
But this code is going to cover all those different processes and all those different constructions.
I am painfully aware of that.
Yep. Larry, I think the point Henry was making, he was giving one example. For example, you know, a higher efficiency piece of equipment where the labor would be the same. You know, if there's something that does require a very different installation process or programming, you know, you are factoring that in, Henry, correct? And I guess the question is, are you, you know, for something that may require additional programming, are you factoring time in for something like that? And if so, what, you know, what rates do you use for that? Commercial rates or prevailing wage?
Yeah, like I mentioned, we are going to consider that for the more complicated systems. Whenever possible, we want to do a straight like for like. Another example I was just brought up was water piping. If we're going to do a 4-pipe system for a commercial building, it does, if you have, doesn't matter what your heat plant is the only thing that changes. You're not going to repipe the whole building with a new heat plant. So installing water piping has nothing to do with some of those proposals. It's the cost of the heat plant itself. So it can easily spiral out of control if you think about it in a really broad manner of how complicated buildings are. But if you can approach it from a more specific, what is the actual change here, then you can hopefully at least address and or move on from a lot of that added cost requirements. Some of these main hot water plants, yes, they're a lot more complicated. And through my design experience, we've gotten an extremely wide range of costs from contractors. So it's a really hard value to land on, and people can claim either way. So we are looking at it. We are certainly not the ones to say what the labor is for it, but I also want to stress to everybody here that people think wildly different amounts of time required to install these.
Okay, so you're actually interviewing contractors. You're not looking, you know, like at RS means for something like that for time, it sounds like.
Like I mentioned, we are focusing more on the equipment right now. We have not been recruiting contractors to give us exact prices on install time.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
I got one more. It's about
Go ahead.
the hot water supply. I mean, like you got a 1 million BTU boiler supplying domestic hot water, and there's a proposal out there for heat pumps to do this. And when you look at the size of area that a 1 million BTU gas water heater takes up, and then you look at 1 million BTUs of compressors that would be required to do this, the room in the building wouldn't even come close to the size. So you're going to have to build a bigger building, especially if you have more than 2 of these to change out, to even think about covering somewhat of the cost. Number one, you couldn't even fit the compressors in the building that presently exists or the new building. And so it's much more than just the equipment. It's building the buildings bigger to house all the equipment that's required to do this work, plus the complexity of all the piping that would be required to do these type of installations. And where you pop a piece of gas equipment in that maybe takes a 3x5 area to do this, where you could have a 20x20 room required for compressors to do all this. And so until you start taking those kind of analysis of what the true cost is going to be, and then the benefit, you're not even in the ballpark here. It's not even close to being apples for apples here. Okay. And so your data isn't correct.
All right. Well, Larry, give Henry a chance to put it out there and then take a look. Again, he was given examples of, you know, just what he started looking at already. But I think that is exactly what you're describing is the intent of these analyses. Henry, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if Larry posed a question at all. So
Okay. So a few people have their hands raised. Johnny Coker, would you like to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just had one question and one comment. One question is that this Department of Enterprise Services cost benefit analysis, is that the same that is what is posted online on Monday that the SBCC worked on, or is that something that is different? And will that be published if it is not?
SBCC is administratively part of the Department of Enterprise Services.
Cool.
So
Just making sure.
We're talking about the same thing.
Thank you. And then my second comment is that, and this will probably be reflected in written comment, is that the questions that Larry is posing, there are buildings that have been built that are all electric in California for a long time. So there should be contractors that know how to do it and don't have large mechanical rooms that are having compressors spill over into the rest of the building. So I think that it'd be good for interviews to be done in areas where this has actually been done before, and folks be focusing on that. And I think written comments will be submitted to you about designers and contractors that actually are doing this work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. Chris Halls.
Thank you. Just real quick question. As far as the economic review, are you taking into account the study that Oxford Economics just recently did, reflecting the increased cost of electrification in Seattle? It's estimated around $6,000 per individual is going to be the burden cost for it, with around $600 annual additional cost per resident. And that's just kind of a broad number painted over the residents of Seattle. I'm just wondering if that's being taken into account as a baseline for the state. Thank you.
Yeah, I did review part of that report. That was pretty interesting, some of the findings there. We hadn't intended to use that as a baseline, but I will definitely make note of that, because they do have some thoughts on there in terms of broad electrification. Like I said, we're trying to first focus just on proposal by proposal and just see what is provided there, and only supplement if we need. This is mainly to keep scope somewhat narrow, but in some instances it's good to reach out and find other sources of information. So thanks for that comment.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin, go ahead. Oh, Kevin, did you still have a question?
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
So yeah, quick question. I noticed one of the proposals that's being evaluated is from Ecotop. It's on renewable energy. I was just curious, is there some sort of firewall in the organization that allows you to analyze that objectively? I'm not sure how to ask the question.
I can answer the question. They're not analyzing their own proposal. We'll have another third party to analyze their proposal.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there won't be any conflict of interest if you're implying that.
No, I was just curious how you'd handle that. So you answered the question.
We have another party to analyze that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Perfect. Johnny, did you have another question, or is your hand still raised?
I just wanted to comment on the Oxford report, and this will be submitted a written comment too, that analysis specifically looks at single family homes, does strange extrapolation to commercial buildings. And the single family homes are not included in this part of the code. So I would like to establish that warning. And it also doesn't include the infrastructure gas cost to the building, making it a non-equal analysis of what the true cost of building an all-electric home would be. And that will be reflected in written comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry, go ahead.
I've got one question for Johnny, and it pertains to what his answer was to it. My biggest question to Johnny and to you guys is he talks about California, how they've done this. What I would put back to you is, I mean, are these places receiving temperatures that get to 20 below zero, these proposals? And that's what I'm mainly concerned about, is the temperature that these proposals were proposed from, okay? In the Spokane area, we had 10 below here already this year for a few days. And if on a heat pump side of things, when you get 10 below, I mean, they don't function very well, okay? Especially on the larger size of things. So when you take a proposal that came from California and you submit that here, that doesn't give a true aspect of what happens in the Spokane area. So that's my question is how do these things gonna react in our cold climates? I mean, you guys on the west side don't have anywhere near the temperature differential that we do normally. And so that's my real concern is how's these things really gonna work in our cold climate, okay? And what does it really cost to run that machine in that cold climate? Because over here, we heat 8 months out of the year. Okay.
Yep. So Henry, are you looking at climate zones? Or two different ones here?
Yeah, we're doing some temperature bin analysis between Spokane and Washington for energy. And I don't need to really get into specifics of proposals because it's not what I'm trying to do to support, but I do believe there's some redundancy allowances in a few of the proposals that allow for cold climate backup. But we are considering Spokane and Seattle as two different climate zones.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Larry, any other questions or I'll move on?
No, I'll move my hand down.
Okay, thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Hey, just real quick, I believe that the Oxford Economic Study, from the way I reviewed it, was focusing more on the multifamily side. They did extrapolate information through single family, but it also applies into multifamily and how electrification will increase the costs of mainly existing buildings as we move forward, with the code cycle, and owners are forced to retrofit their systems that contain mostly resistant heat. And then we'll have to retrofit with heat pump systems. So I believe that's where a lot of their cost analysis that come from. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Caroline.
Thanks, Andrew. Henry, I had a question. I think you mentioned a bit in your intro about energy savings and building types. And so just curious if an output of your work will be an estimate or range to help council members understand how much each proposal would contribute to the 19% energy saving progress goal. So that's kind of my first question. Second question, RCW 3405-328, requires us to take into account both qualitative and quantitative factors. And so also just curious about your intent or scope around other potential qualitative impacts of some of these ideas that are difficult to quantify, and what level of commentary you anticipate there. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. So to your first question about the quantifying the total energy savings in our progress to our target, it's not going to be as robust as the report that we completed a few years ago. That was the full modeling analysis across the state. This is mainly, again, to keep kind of streamlined and focus just on the biggest impacts. Some of these proposals is something about P-tax, right? And that'll only apply to hotels and maybe some multifamily in a very small, narrow kind of focus. And so, that won't have a huge measurable move towards our 19%. So we won't present it in that way. Other ones like heat pump water heaters or the space heating or the solar will have a measurable impact. And since this is not a full baseline modeling process, we might have to do a little bit for some of the space heating. We're mainly going to try to focus on, a cost benefit just for that specific building type for an instance, instead of trying to extrapolate what's the total square footage of offices in Spokane and Seattle and weight that across. That was more of what we did for our full energy study. So I don't think we're going to have a huge or a specific report on how close it'll get us, but I think what should come out of it is a pretty clear idea of the magnitude of savings between these. And that should come out both just on a UI savings as well as probably cost utility savings. And you'll see that if you dig into the report a little bit. And then second, in terms of other impacts, you know, we are focused again just on cost benefit, so cost to the utility savings. But I would say in the Department of Commerce tool, they do have an alternative scenario where they do look at social cost of carbon. And so there will be a scenario reviewed in that way, just from their default tool. I don't expect us to be pulling in different impacts from other sources or other kind of angles, because again, we hope to just use what's provided as much as we can. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I want to add something. Ecotop is working on the cost benefit analysis only, and we are planning to have a contract with a third party for the comprehensive work that will show us the comparison between 2018 energy codes and 2021 energy codes. What is the energy savings? We need to do this every 3 years for the Senate and for the House, and we will use this requirement for the report. So we will have somebody to do the comprehensive work. So what Ecotop is doing now and what Henry is talking about is only one small part that is directly related to the cost benefit.
All right. Thank you, Stoyan. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got one comment about dropping the gas rooftop down versus a heat pump rooftop. Okay, so presently you'd have a gas rooftop in there. Let's say it's a 10-ton with 325,000 BTU input, okay, for the heating side. So it's not just pushing one unit down and swapping another, because when you go to 325,000 BTU input versus the 10-ton that would have been there, that means you have to build the ductwork twice as big as what was there before. So it's not just switching it out. Then on top of it, you're going to have a heat pump where the wiring and the electrical service is all going to have to be at least double the size of what it was to do that. So it's not as simple as just dropping one unit in and dropping another one in. It's all the infrastructure and all the labor and all the to do all this. This is what's the true cost here is. It's not just dropping one in and slipping another one in there, because it won't work physically, okay? The physics aren't there to do that. So you got to redesign the ductwork, enlarge the ductwork, get larger wires there, get a larger service, get larger transformers outside. It's a significant amount of cost here.
So in general, commercial buildings are designed off cooling load, which is usually larger than the heating load. So if you're a retailer, if you provide cooling in your gas pack with AC, you sized your electrical service, your compressor, your ducts to push cooling. So if you swap that out with the heat pump, you're actually heating is less than cooling. So that's just one example.
That's on the west side, not on the east side.
Design is not part of code. You can design anything from the ground up in a similar cost. Sizing ducts doesn't take longer if ducts are larger. So design cost doesn't really apply there.
You have the cost of the ducts that will have to be bigger. On your west side, you don't have the heating loads like we have compared to the air conditioning loads. The heating loads over here is double the air conditioning load, even in a commercial building, okay? Because of all the fresh air that's required to come into that building, okay? When it's 20 below outside and you got to bring that fresh air up to 70 degrees, then you have a significant amount of energy that's required. Okay.
I would say DOAS applications in the code have addressed that design issue 2 code cycles ago. So I would recommend looking in some more efficient design practice with ventilation air. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about design. I'm actually here to review code proposals, so apologize.
Ecotop will not be evaluating the code proposals based on, we had these discussions during the technical advisory groups and the committee meetings and the council meetings. Again, Larry, your comments are appreciated as always, but this is why we have the comment period. And then, when you submit your comments, or when we have your testimony during the public hearings, Ecotop will be able to take into account whatever is related to their work.
Yep. Larry, anything else before I move on?
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on Larry, I think what he was trying to address with the heat pump retrofit of a gas furnace or gas pack is the additional cost of the strip heat. As you need to have strip heat for backup for low load situations and defrost. So there's additional cost to run that new circuit because a gas pack isn't going to have a large enough electrical load. And I think that was the question is that being factored in to this study? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We actually have looked into transformer sizing primarily for the heat pump water heating proposal so far. And so I expect we will get some info on transformers for the space heating as well. That is a pretty substantial infrastructure and / supporting system cost that should be accounted for, and vice versa for gas piping. So it goes 2 ways.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? And doesn't look like we have any hands up, so going once, going twice. Larry, go ahead.
Well, one more question is, I was under the understanding from the proposals that you weren't allowed to have backup electric heat. My understanding was that they want everything to be heated from heat pumps and not have the expensive or the high amount of electricity used. So that was one of my, and that's what most of us, by reading the proposals, is that this is all supposed to be run off heat pumps and not use the backup electric heat because of the energy cost and what it takes to use straight electricity. I thought that's what the whole idea here is to get rid of the expensive cost and the expense of using straight electricity. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. But I don't think you can get away with that. Like you mentioned, sometimes if you're -10, you'll need that backup. There's just nothing you can do. So I didn't read the proposal that way, but if you did, then definitely comment on that in the public comment hearing. Anything else? All right. Well, Harry, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Henry. Yeah, I was right the first time. Thank you so much for being here and answering our questions and the work you're doing. We'll move on then to the next agenda, which is just other business.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Diane.
Yep, thank you. Stoyan, any other business that staff has?
No, the next meeting in the schedule is February 16th. And again, I will coordinate with Ecotop and with you, Andrew, and see what we can produce for February 16th, if we can produce something.
All right, perfect. Anyone else have any other business they want to raise? All right, then we'll end a half hour early. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.